Hi everybody, welcome back to Goodnight Lighthouse. I'm Miss Dorothy and I'm here to read you another story. And I have a book about a friend of ours from down on the farm. Do you remember we've been reading some books about Otis the tractor? I think I still have it. Well, there it is. There's Otis and the tornado. And over there is the book when we met Otis. And now we have another one. And it's called Otis and the Kittens. Otis and the Kittens. What's Otis doing with those little kittens? Wow, I didn't know Otis had kittens down on the farm, but I guess he could. He has all kinds of animal friends. But I wonder how they meet and what's going on down on the farm, because I think there's some excitement going on. We need to get into this book and find out how Otis finds these kittens. Are you ready to get inside this book with Miss Dorothy? Good. I need you to sit up and listen up, because here we go. Otis and the Kittens, written by Loren Long. It was a hot and dry day on the farm where the friendly little tractor named Otis lived. Otis couldn't remember the last time it had rained. Farmers all over the valley grew more anxious by the day. Water was in a short supply. The ground was hard, and the corn stalks were half as tall as they should have been. Otis spent his afternoons out in the sweltering fields with the farmhands baling straw. Wow, it hasn't rained for a really long time, and everything's really dry. Once the load was full, with a puff and a chuff, Otis would pull the wagon into the old barn down by the bend at Mud Creek. The farmhands would use a pulley to lift each bale up into the loft, where it would be stored for the long winter to come. When the sun had gone over the hill and the work was done, Otis was ready to sit in the shade and rest. But not Otis's friend the bull. Where's the bull? The bull liked to stand in front of Otis and snort and snuffle and huff hot air. 2 snorts and a snarl and a huff. All the animals knew what that meant. The bull was challenging Otis to a tug of war. Otis smiled. His friends were always eager to play, even after a long day of work. One duck wound the end of the rope around the bull's horns. Another duck looped the other end around Otis's steering wheel. The animals then took sides, grabbing on any way they could. Everyone pulled and tugged with all their might. Eventually, Otis would ease up a little. He didn't care much about winning. He just liked having fun with his friends. Wow, look at all the animals playing a game of tug-of-war. One afternoon, when everyone was up under the shade of the apple tree, Otis spotted something moving down in the field. It looked to be an orange tabby cat. Where did she come from? Otis wondered. He watched as she ran toward the old barn, and there he saw something that caused his engines to sputter. A swirl of smoke! Oh no, there's smoke coming out of the barn! Otis raced to the barn with the animals following behind. They discovered flames coming from the loft inside the old barn. A fire! The barn was filled with brittle, dry straw, and Otis knew it wouldn't take long for it all to burst into flames. Just then, the tabby cat appeared in the barn window. With a putt-puff-puffity-chuff, Otis rushed into the burning barn. Is Otis going to go in and save the cat? Inside, the flames were growing and smoke was forming a dark cloud. The cat was pacing back and forth above on a rafter. Otis chuffed for her to jump, but the cat wouldn't budge. Instead, she stared down at Otis and belted out the loudest meow Otis had ever heard. What was she trying to tell him? Why wouldn't she jump? Otis is trying to save her. Suddenly, Otis heard a tiny meow, meow from the hayloft, and then another tiny meow, meow, and another, and another, and another, and another. At once, 5 furry little heads popped up and stared down at him. Kittens! As flames blazed overhead, Otis stood on the hind wheels and stretched towards the edge of the loft to a chorus of tiny meows, meow, meow. One by one, the kittens hopped down. The farm animals cheered as Otis emerged from the burning barn with kittens all over him. Otis saved the mommy cat, and all the little kittens. But as soon as Mama Cat counted their little heads, she meowed frantically back at the barn. This time Otis had no doubt what she was saying. How many more were still in there, he wondered. By then, the top of the barn was engulfed in flames, sending large plumes of smoke into the sky. Otis was afraid, but he gunned his engines, screeched his tires, and dashed back into the burning barn, because there's another kitten inside. Inside, the heat was growing worse, and it was hard to breathe. Otis revved his engine, and one last little head popped up, trembling from fear. Otis puffed a gentle chuff, and the kitten climbed down on top of him, hopped to his seat, leapt to the floor, and scampered out of the barn to safety. Yay! The last little kitten got out of the barn. Outside, the animals cheered when they saw another kitten emerge as they watched for Otis to follow. Inside, the flames spread by the second. Otis wheeled around to see if any more kittens were left. The old boards of the barn's floor creaked, buckled, and moaned. The walls popped. He couldn't wait another second. Just as Otis spotted the exit and raced his wheels to leave, there was a giant crash. What happened? The floor collapsed, and Otis plunged into the darkness below. Oh no! The floor broke, and Otis fell down. Outside, the animals held their breath, waiting for their friend to emerge. Inside, Otis couldn't move. He had fallen into the cluttered lower level of the barn, and he was covered in dust, debris, and broken planks. Stuck in the hole, with the fire raging above, Otis could hardly puff a breath. Then he heard a siren of Fire Chief Douglas and the fire engine. The farmer pulled up, and Otis heard him rounding up the animals. Help had arrived. He knew he'd be fine. Until he heard Fire Chief Douglas holler, "Sorry, farmer. The creek's gone dry in the drought, and the water supply too low to save this old barn. As long as everyone's safe, we'll have to let her burn." "No, they don't have enough water to put out the fire." Underneath the pile of broken boards and dust, Otis could see a thing move or a gasket, and his heart sank deep inside his engine. Oh no, Otis thinks he's going to be stuck in there. The animals had grown wild with fear. The farmer counted them one by one. They were all safe inside. He couldn't figure out why they were acting so crazy. Suddenly, the little calf bolted for the barn door. His friends followed right behind. Inside the fiery barn, they spotted Otis stuck down in the hole, covered in boards and dust. His engine was barely running. How could they ever get him out? The bull looked up at the rafters and down at Otis. He stood in front of the hole in the floor and snorted and snarled and huffed hot air. 2 snorts and a snarl and a huff. The animals knew just what that meant. One duck grabbed the pulley rope and wound it around the bull's horns, and another duck flew into the hole and hooked it to Otis's steering wheel. The bull snorted and tugged and snarled and pulled, but Otis didn't budge. They're going to try and pull him out, just like when they play tug-of-war. The horse and the cow grabbed the rope behind the bull, and together they snorted and tugged and neighed and mooed and pulled, and Otis teetered ever so slightly. The little calf jumped in and tugged and bawled and pulled, and Otis raised a bit more. The puppy grabbed the rope behind the little calf, and with a fierce "uff" tugged and pulled and growled as Otis inched upward. And then came a piercing meow and the sound of Fire Chief Douglas shouting, "Holy Motus! Otis is in there! Hold on tight, everyone! I'm here to help!" Fire Chief Douglas grabbed the end of the rope and tugged and pulled and tugged. Altogether, the animals and Fire Chief Douglas lifted Otis higher and higher until he was suspended above the hole. The ducks swooped in and pushed him over the edge of the opening to where they could lower him to the floor. Together, everyone pulled the dust and the ash-covered tractor out from the burning fire just as parts of the barn began to fall. Yay! They worked together and they got him out! Then Fire Chief Douglas and his men hosed off Otis and wiped down his frame. The cool water revved Otis, and everyone cheered when they heard a faint puffity-puff-chuff. It was music to their ears. The kittens jumped up on top of Otis and crawled all over him. Fire Chief Douglas laughed and said, "Farmer, what you say we adopt these kittens and their mama? They'd make a mighty fine addition to our Fire Ice family. Otis puffed a happy chuff. He couldn't think of a better home for his new friends. Wow, that was such an exciting book. Did you see that fire? Oh my, it burnt down the whole barn. And Otis was so brave. He went into that barn to rescue those kittens. And then his friends were brave. They went into that barn to rescue Otis. Friends really do help each other out. And I love that now Otis and the farm animals have kittens as their new friends. What an exciting, adventurous book. It makes me think about firemen and how brave they are. Because when there's a fire and all of us have to run away from the fire, they run right up to the fire to fix it and put it out. Firemen are so brave. And Otis was brave just like a fireman. That was a good book. I really liked reading about that. I liked all that adventure, even though it made me a little nervous. But at least Otis got those kittens out, and everybody ended the day happy, and they got to build a brand new barn. That was exciting. I liked that book. Kind of made me a little tired, though, because there was so much activity. So now it's time for all my little firemen to get into bed. I need you to get under your covers, get cuddled up, curled up, ready for a really good night's sleep. And tomorrow, if you see a kitten, just be really nice and tender with it. Kittens can be a little scared sometimes, just like the kittens in the book. But whatever you do, wherever you go, listen to Mom and Dad and obey right away. And then come back and see Miss Dorothy, because I'm going to be sitting right here, ready to read another book to you. Bye! Thanks for reading with Miss Dorothy. I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope you'll come back soon to read another. What's your favorite book? Drop Miss Dorothy a note and let me know. I'll go find it, and I'll read it to you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you soon.